Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of A Practical Guide to the Tower. So in today's episode, I would like to share with you guys a little bit about the findings that I have made in considering a golden bot sync. So as some of you might know, I have recently decided to make the switch from Galaxy Compressor to Black Hole Digester. And as a result of that, one of the things that I have to manage in my tower now is this thing called the golden bot sync. So if we have a look at my screen over here, you will notice that when my golden bot pops out, it's also the time where my black hole and my death wave activates. So essentially I want my golden bot to activate the same time as my other ultimate weapons do. So what I would like to go through in this video is why we should consider, or why you might want to consider syncing your golden bot, the various factors to consider when you are actually in the midst of syncing your golden bot, and how to actually go about syncing your golden bot. So let's start off with the why of syncing the golden bot. Well, essentially GoBot gives us an extra coin multiplier. So if I were to look at my bot, if I can find it, it's giving me an extra 6 times bonus. So if I were to now toggle on the hit text for coins, you will see that the enemies in that are killed within my golden bot activation are going to be benefiting from some extra coins. So that's the additional coin multiplier, and because my golden bot is synced to go off together with my black hole and my death wave, I'm ensuring that all the enemies that are captured in the golden bot will have the maximum amount of coin multipliers that I can potentially put on them. So that's the main reason for the sync. Now, there are a couple of factors to consider when running a golden bot sync. As you notice, my black hole actually is no longer permanent as a result of me not using the Galaxy Compressor. And as a result of that, sometimes in the run, I end up taking a lot of chip damage just because maybe there are ranged enemies that are somewhere in the interior of my range when my black hole falls off. So that's the primary factor to consider, especially if you are running a glass cannon build. There's only a certain amount of times that we can be hit by the enemy, so having a lack of black hole uptime is going to definitely increase the amount of damage that we take from the enemies, or the number of hits that we take from the enemies. If you are in the early stages of progression and perhaps running an EHP related build, this is much less of a concern because your wall is basically strong enough to tank the hits of the enemies. The second thing to bear in mind is that because I'm not using Galaxy Compressor now, one of the things that Galaxy Compressor does is it lowers the cooldowns of all our ultimate weapons except Poison Swamp. In other words, it's going to allow me to have a much higher uptime of Death Wave effect waves coming out. And because Death Wave provides a cell bonus, one of the major trade-offs that I found in making the switch is that I am now getting a lot less cells. So if potentially you are someone who, say, is able to afford 4 times laps every day, just barely able to afford 4 times laps for all of your laps, then if you were to make the switch out of Galaxy Compressor into, say, a Black Hole Digester or Singularity Harness, anything outside from Galaxy Compressor really, you are going to be experiencing a fall in your cell income. So potentially that might affect your research, and as we all know, labs are probably the biggest bottleneck in this game, so having less cell income must be something that you would be comfortable with in making the switch. Now, finally, I guess the main question is, how do we actually go about syncing the golden bot? Well, as we are seeing over here, I'm using the Multiverse Nexus. So under the Multiverse Nexus, it gets a bit more complicated. So let's first just talk about the natural sync. Suppose I'm not using a Multiverse Nexus. In that case, it's pretty straightforward. At max level, the golden bot is going to give us a cooldown of 50 seconds. Okay, the reason why mine is not at 50 seconds at the moment is because I've adjusted the cooldown accordingly. For those of you wondering, this is from the Harmony Vault upgrade. Now, if you are not using Multiverse Nexus, then it's actually very easy to achieve a sync. Black Hole cooldown goes down to 50 seconds, Multiverse Nexus goes down to 50 seconds, and the Golden Tower cooldown goes down to 100 seconds. So essentially we can just max out our Golden Bot, get it to 50 seconds, and we are just going to have that natural sync as we play the game. Now, if we are using the Multiverse Nexus, then things get a bit more complicated. So I'll dedicate the remainder of this video to talking about that. Now, because everyone eventually is going to be getting an Ancestral Multiverse Nexus, I'm only going to be focusing on how to achieve a sync with an Ancestral Multiverse Nexus. Alright, so to sync the Golden Bot with your Ancestral Multiverse Nexus, I have constructed a table over here that is what we can do if we don't have the bot cooldown sliders. So essentially, if we have our Death Wave cooldown at 100 seconds, then with our Ancestral Multiverse Nexus, assuming GT is at 100 seconds and Black Hole is at 50 seconds, with an Ancestral GT cooldown sub and Ancestral Death Wave cooldown sub, our sync time on our Multiverse Nexus is going to be 65 seconds. Now, that allows us to then sync our Golden Bot by running a 65-second sync. And the way you can do that is, well, suppose you are willing to make a respec on your Golden Bot. I don't know how to respec the bots, but I think it's possible, not in the run. So you can lower the cooldown down to 65 seconds for your Golden Bot, and that is going to allow you to achieve a natural sync with your Multiverse Nexus, assuming your Death Wave cooldown is at 100 seconds. Now, one click into Death Wave cooldown from there gets us to 90 seconds Death Wave cooldown. In that case, if we are still using Ancestral subs for GT cooldown and Death Wave cooldown, we can run with a 62-second sync, so one more click into your Golden Bot duration would resolve the problem. And notice that what happens when we get to 80 seconds in our Death Wave cooldown, we actually require to use a 59-second sync now, and the way we can achieve that is by rolling out our Death Wave cooldown substat to Mythic level. As we will see, as I'll show shortly, it's not going to be advisable to do that, I guess, because if we notice from 70 seconds down to 50 seconds, we actually require a Mythic GT substat on our Golden Tower cooldown and a Death Wave cooldown at Ancestral level. So if we wanted to roll our substats just for the 80-second Death Wave cooldown, it's probably not very worth it. We might want to just bear the short-term cost of having a broken sync at 80 seconds and then roll out the substat at 70 seconds to get Mythic GT cooldown. Now, it's also worth noting that you can actually run a 50-second Death Wave sync with your Death Wave cooldown at 60 seconds. To do that, what you would need to do is to have the Mythic substats for the Ancestral substats for GT, Death Wave, and Black Hole rolled on your Multiverse Nexus, and that would allow you to have a 50-second sync. Now, personally, that is not something that I would want to go for, and the rationale that I have behind it is, well, suppose I'm looking at my Multiverse Nexus, I actually need the 15-degree spotlight angle, I need the +3 Death Wave quantity, I need the 7 seconds GT duration for my Golden Tower Plus, and if I were to have 3 substats over here, Death Wave cooldown, GT cooldown, and Black Hole cooldown at Ancestral level, that is going to not allow me to have the Golden Tower bonus substat unless I bring it to 201. And although I'm almost there, having the ability to not have that Black Hole cooldown substat rolled on is actually making my life a lot simpler. And in fact, it's not very difficult to get this GT cooldown substat at Mythic, since Mythic substats are much easier to come by than Ancestral substats. So the method that I'm personally going for is to just, well, as you can see, I've already prepared my Multiverse Nexus to have a Mythic GT cooldown substat and go with Ancestral Death Wave cooldown. And that way I can currently run a 56-second sync with my Multiverse Nexus because my Death Wave cooldown is basically at 70 seconds. Now when I have enough stones to get my Death Wave cooldown down to 60 seconds, I can just bring my cooldown down from 56 to 53 seconds on my golden bot, and eventually if I get the 50-second sync, then I can just bring the cooldown down again. So to me, I think this seems like a more effective path, or a more straightforward path that I can use. In addition to that, because my tower is not exactly very good, depending on what extra substat I get at 201, it may provide some extra benefits if I can get maybe some extra damage in as a substat, since I don't need to rely on the black hole cooldown substat. So hopefully that helps with you guys understanding of how to go about achieving a golden bot sync. I would say that it's not exactly mandatory to use the Galaxy compressor. Of course, having a Galaxy compressor is good. It definitely makes things a lot easier, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have a Galaxy compressor. And I do know that everyone's module luck is a little bit different. It may be very long before you get your multiverse, before you get your Galaxy compressor. So in the meantime, suppose you didn't have a Galaxy compressor, but say you had a Singularity harness at 5-star or something, you could of course just slot this in and do a run with it, and maybe that might give you actually better coins and something that you might prefer. If you wanted to go down that path, then hopefully this video helps with you understanding how to achieve the syncs. Alright, so pretty short one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, do like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!